The early morning light filters through the blinds, casting stripes across my worn duvet. I roll over, stretch, and listen to the quiet hum of the city waking up outside my small apartment window. A faint smile touches my lips. This peace, this absolute, profound calm, feels like a miracle. Because not so long ago, exactly 2 years, 7 months, and 12 days ago, my life was a goddamn war zone. The kind where every sunrise felt like a prelude to another ambush, another betrayal. It was the worst year of my life, a living nightmare that almost broke me, almost cost me everything. Back then, I was Kev Rodriguez, 33, an inventory specialist for my family's electronics distribution company here in Atlanta. Nothing glamorous, I know. My salary, hovering around $65,000, kept my beat-up 2010 Honda Civic on the road and paid the rent on this one-bedroom place, identical to the one I live in now. But it was my place, my life, and I was proud of the work I did. Our company, Rodriguez Electronics, might not have been a Silicon Valley startup, but we were a solid, reputable business built on my grandfather's sweat and my father's shrewdness. My role was literally the backbone of it all, understanding every barcode, every shipping label, every movement of stock from supplier to shelf. I knew our system like the back of my hand, every quirk, every shortcut, every piece of its slightly archaic but incredibly reliable code. I was good at it, probably the best in the business, even if no one outside the family truly appreciated the silent, meticulous work. Then Serena walked in. She floated into my world like a siren, all sharp angles and blinding smiles. Serena Dubois, a corporate consultant, she called herself, though her LinkedIn profile was always suspiciously vague about her actual client list. I met her at a mutual friend's barbecue. She was effortlessly charming, sophisticated, and way out of my league. Or so I thought. She had this way of making you feel seen, really seen, even as her eyes subtly evaluated your watch, your shoes, the age of the car you pulled up in. I was hooked, completely, utterly smitten. Our first few months were a whirlwind. She'd sweep me off my feet, literally, to fancy dinners I could barely afford, weekend trips to Charleston, making me feel like I belonged in her world. It was intoxicating. The red flags were there, of course, flapping gently in the breeze, but I was too blinded by the rose-tinted glasses she'd so expertly placed over my eyes. She'd make little jokes about my car, the reliable old workhorse, always with a wink, but the sting was there. Or she'd muse aloud. "It's so charming, Kev, how your family still runs things like it's the 90s. So quaint." She'd laugh, a light, tinkling sound, and I'd just smile, feeling a pang of something I couldn't quite name. She never said anything directly mean about my job, but there was always this underlying current, an unspoken expectation that I should be more. An inventory specialist? Kevin, with your mind, you could be running a whole division, disrupting the market. It sounded like encouragement, but it felt like a gentle push, a subtle suggestion that what I was wasn't quite enough for her. For us. I remember once, at a charity gala she practically dragged me to, some high society shindig where everyone seemed to know everyone else's net worth. She introduced me to her friend, a venture capitalist named Bryce. "Bryce, this is my Kev. He's in logistics. You know, keeping the gears turning behind the scenes." She patted my arm, a little too hard, her smile a little too bright. Bryce, a man with teeth that gleamed like a shark's and eyes that calculated your value in a split second, gave me a dismissive nod. The unsung heroes of the supply chain. Important, of course. But tell me, Kev, what's your ambition? What's the next big move? I stammered something about improving efficiency, optimizing processes at the family business. Serena cut in, her voice dripping with affectionate pity. "He's so dedicated to his family, Bryce. It's truly admirable. But sometimes, dear, you have to let go of the old to embrace the new, right?" She squeezed my hand, but her gaze was on Bryce, a shared knowing look passing between them that made my stomach clench. I felt like a museum piece, an artifact she was politely tolerating. My job, my passion, my family's legacy. It was all being subtly devalued, dismissed as old and quaint. It wasn't long after that the conversation shifted to my family's business. Serena, with her sharp suits and even sharper mind, started dropping hints about modernization, scalability. digital transformation. My dad, a man of tradition but always open to smart ideas, listened intently. My mom, ever the pragmatist, was initially skeptical. But Serena was relentless. She had PowerPoints, case studies, glowing testimonials from anonymous clients. She painted a picture of a sleek, automated future where Rodriguez Electronics would leave its competitors in the dust, where our revenues would skyrocket. And the key, she said, was a brand new, cutting-edge inventory management system. Her system. Your current setup, Kev, she'd say, her voice soft but firm. It's solid for its time. But it's a bottleneck. Imagine the data analysis, the real-time insights we could gain. She always used we when talking about the business, making me feel like we were a team, a dynamic duo destined for greatness. I genuinely believed her. I loved her. So when she presented her proposal to the family, I backed her. I vouched for her. The installation of her system began, a huge undertaking. She convinced everyone that my legacy system was too convoluted, too prone to manual error, and that it needed to be fully replaced, not merely integrated. She started migrating data, or so she said. But subtle things began to happen. My old barcode scanners, previously infallible, would start glitching on random items. My terminal, which usually ran like a dream, would freeze during critical data entries. Files would mysteriously corrupt. I'd spend hours trying to troubleshoot, my frustration growing, while Serena would just shake her head, a sympathetic frown on her face. See, Kev? It's just proving my point. The old system is fighting us every step of the way. She was so persuasive, so damn good at her game. She made me feel like I was the problem, my attachment to the old ways is slowing down progress. The family, seeing the mounting tech issues and trusting Serena's expertise, became impatient with my resistance. They started asking me if I was intentionally dragging my feet. My dad even pulled me aside, telling me, "Son, I know it's hard to let go, but we need to move forward. Serena has a vision." The knife twisted. I was being sidelined in my own domain, my expertise questioned, my legacy system dismantled piece by piece. As her modern system went live, the initial results were promising, or so it seemed. The new interface was slick, user-friendly, and her reports showed impressive gains in processing speed. But then, quietly, the discrepancies began. Small at first. A few expensive HDMI cables missing from a shipment. A box of high-end graphics cards showing up as unaccounted for in the quarterly report. My blood ran cold every time. I was the inventory specialist. This was my job, my responsibility. I'd pore over the logs from her new system, comparing them to the remnants of my old records. Nothing matched. Her system's audit trails were, on the surface, perfect. But the physical stock in the warehouse told a different story. I'd come home exhausted, my head pounding, the metallic taste of panic in my mouth. "You look stressed, Kev," Serena would say, sliding a glass of wine into my hand. "Is it those pesky inventory issues again?" "Honestly, darling, you worry too much. It's just growing pains. New system, new processes. We'll iron it out." But she never helped me iron it out. Instead, she'd gaslight me, expertly. I'd point out a specific discrepancy, a whole pallet of high-definition monitors gone. She'd sigh, run a hand through her perfectly styled hair. "Kev, are you sure you're looking at the right report? I just ran a cross-check. Everything aligns. Maybe you just miscounted? You've been under a lot of pressure lately. Perhaps your eyes are playing tricks. Or even worse. Are you perhaps resisting the new system a bit, subconsciously? Sometimes we create problems where there aren't any, just to prove a point. You know, wanting your old system to be right?" She'd say it with such tender concern, her eyes brimming with what looked like genuine worry for me. And I, fool that I was, would start to question my own sanity. Maybe I was overtired. Maybe I was letting my attachment to the old system cloud my judgment. The self-doubt gnawed at me, turning my confidence into a slow-burning ember of fear. I felt like I was drowning, completely isolated in my own head. The discrepancies escalated. Soon, millions of dollars worth of high-value inventory, the latest gaming consoles, top-tier drones, specialized networking equipment, were vanishing from our digital records, yet weren't physically present either. Not in the warehouse, not on any truck, not at any customer's door. They were simply gone. The family was in a panic. Our accounts were hemorrhaging money. My parents, who had built this business from nothing, looked at me with increasing worry, then with thinly veiled disappointment. They remembered my initial enthusiasm for Serena's system, my unwavering support. Now, their company was spiraling towards bankruptcy. Serena, however, was thriving. She was always on calls, always managing the crisis, always assuring my family that she was working tirelessly to identify the systemic failures that she conveniently linked back to the remnants of the old ways, or even, subtly, to human error during the transition period. My human error. She was laying the groundwork, framing me for the entire mess. I started seeing the articles, whispers in industry forums about Rodriguez Electronics, catastrophic inventory control issues. The shame was a constant, cold companion. I was at my lowest, completely broken. I barely slept. My small apartment felt like a prison. One night, I found myself staring at a faded barcode on an old box of obsolete circuit boards in the back of our warehouse, a box I'd kept for spare parts years ago. It was a 128-bit linear code, not one of the newer QR or data matrix codes Serena's system used, but the kind my legacy system had been built around. And then it hit me. A flicker of something. A memory. My legacy system, while old, had a unique, proprietary serialization flaw I'd built in myself years ago, a kind of internal watermark only visible to my specific readers and software. It was a tiny, almost invisible digital signature I'd put on specific high-value items during certain periods, just as an extra layer of internal tracking, a safety net that no one else knew about. A signature that would be completely invisible to any other scanner or system, especially a new, modern one. I went back to my apartment, the fear still a knot in my stomach, but a new, almost frantic energy coursing through my veins. The victim was done. The man who questioned his own sanity was gone. In his place was Kev Rodriguez, the inventory specialist, the guy who knew barcodes better than he knew himself. I had secretly, almost instinctively, backed up fragmented portions of my original barcode database before Serena had completely dismantled it. Not the full system, but enough crucial data, enough of the DNA of my old process. I pulled out an old laptop from a dusty box under my bed, the one with my original software installed. It was slow, clunky, but it worked. I fired up my deprecated system, ran a data restoration, and began sifting through years of raw, unprocessed data. It was like trying to hear a whisper in a hurricane, but I was looking for that specific whisper. Hours turned into days. My fingers flew across the keyboard, a rhythm I hadn't felt in months. I ignored my phone, ignored the calls from my worried parents, ignored Serena's increasingly frequent checking in texts. I ate instant noodles and drank stale coffee. My eyes burned, but I couldn't stop. I was tracing breadcrumbs, following a ghost. And then, I found it. A pattern. A specific, archaic serialization flaw. An almost imperceptible digital artifact linked to specific batches of high-value inventory. It was unique to my system, to my methods. And it was screaming at me. I meticulously cross-referenced these unique serial numbers with the digital receipts and audit logs from Serena's modern system. The discrepancies weren't random errors. They were systematic. The serial numbers of the missing high-value items, the ones that had vanished from our records in our warehouse, often contained that specific archaic flaw, but her system, blissfully unaware, had simply registered them as processed or shipped to phantom destinations. But here was the kicker. A fraction of a percentage of the items with this specific internal flaw were showing up as on order or in transit within her system, yet were physically present in our warehouse, untouched. It was a sophisticated shell game. She was creating ghost assets in her system, digital fictions that would be sold to her black market buyers, while making physical goods disappear from our inventory logs, creating massive losses for Rodriguez Electronics. And then, she was planning to swoop in, acquire the failing company for pennies on the dollar, and use her modern system to legitimize the illicit gains. The pieces clicked into place with horrifying clarity. The wave of nausea that hit me was overwhelming. My hands started shaking uncontrollably. This wasn't just incompetence. It was a deliberate, cold-blooded act of corporate sabotage and fraud. And she had played me, used me, gaslighted me into believing I was the problem. My Serena, the woman I loved, the woman I had defended to my family. The betrayal was a physical ache, a searing pain behind my eyes. I collapsed onto the floor, the old laptop screen casting a pale, accusing glow on my face. The weight of it all, the lies, the manipulation, the impending ruin of my family's legacy, it was too much. I choked back a sob, then another, until I was just a heaving mess on the cold floor, tears streaming down my face. But then, something shifted. The tears dried. The pain hardened. The collapse gave way to a chilling clarity. This wasn't just about my broken heart anymore. This was about my family, their name, their livelihood. She hadn't just betrayed me. She had attacked the very foundation of my existence. And she was going to pay. Not with tears, not with arguments. With cold, hard data. I didn't confront her. Not yet. She was too cunning, too good at deflecting. I needed to hit her where it hurt, with irrefutable proof, a nuclear exposure she couldn't spin away. My mind, previously clouded by love and doubt, became a machine, calculating, planning. The plan formed in the silent hours of the night. It was audacious, risky, and utterly beautiful in its precision. I knew our company had a major quarterly audit coming up, an event Serena had been orchestrating with an almost feverish glee, no doubt planning to finalize her acquisition. I would use her own system against her. I developed a bespoke, self-replicating algorithm. It was designed to leverage that archaic serialization flaw in her system. During the audit, when her system would be running its full inventory check, my algorithm would subtly, incrementally, alter a tiny fraction of a percent of her system's high-value item barcodes. It wouldn't delete them, wouldn't outright falsify them. It would simply make them undetectable by her readers, by her system's logic, while making them glaringly visible and scannable by my legacy scanner, which I had secretly re-enabled and integrated into a discrete network within the warehouse. The goal? A catastrophic, phantom inventory crisis. Millions of dollars worth of stock would physically be present in the warehouse, clearly visible, clearly tangible. But her system, the one she had painstakingly built to facilitate her fraud, would suddenly show them as completely vanished, untraceable. Simultaneously, the ghost assets she had created to siphon money would still be there in her digital ledger, perfectly accounted for. It would expose her system as one that simultaneously created fake assets and made real, physical goods disappear, all under the guise of modernization. It would be irrefutable proof of large-scale corporate fraud, a systemic failure rooted in her own code. The day of the audit arrived, a bright, deceptively calm Atlanta morning. Serena was there, radiating confidence, her smile sharp enough to cut glass. My parents looked haggard, but hopeful that this audit would finally bring some answers. I, on the other hand, felt a cold calm. My stomach churned, but my mind was utterly focused. I had uploaded the algorithm the night before, time to activate during the peak scanning hours. The audit began. Teams of auditors, led by Serena, moved through the warehouse, their sleek new scanners beeping away. I stood back, a silent observer, my old, slightly battered legacy scanner hidden in a pouch on my belt, connected to my secret network. For the first few hours, everything seemed normal. Serena's reports were clean, efficient. She gave my family reassuring nods. Then, a murmur started. One auditor called out, then another. This pallet of VR headsets. My scanner says it's not in the system. Excuse me, we have 20 boxes of premium gaming chairs here, but the handheld shows zero stock. The murmurs grew into a clamor. Confusion turned into alarm. Serena, initially dismissing it as minor glitches, started to look visibly unsettled. Her confident smile faltered. My algorithm was doing its work. Millions of dollars worth of physical goods were there, tangible, yet utterly vanished from her system's records. And worse, when her team manually tried to input the serial numbers, they were met with invalid entry messages, or the system simply crashed. It was like the inventory was physically there, but digitally erased. Then came the second, more damning wave. I, with my old scanner, walked around, seemingly helping the frantic auditors. I'd casually scan certain items that her system claimed were non-existent. My scanner would beep, display the full, accurate product information, and crucially, the proprietary serialization flaw I had built in. And then, I would show them her system's digital ledger, where those very items were simultaneously listed as sold, to a non-existent shell company, or on order from a phantom supplier, creating massive, fictitious assets while the real items sat there, digitally erased. The contrast was stark, undeniable. Serena's modern system was a house of cards, built on fraud, designed to create ghost assets while making physical goods vanish. It caused a catastrophic, phantom inventory crisis that pointed directly to her. The auditors, initially baffled, quickly understood. This wasn't a glitch. It was a sophisticated, high-level corporate fraud. Serena's face, once composed, drained of all color. She stammered, tried to blame me, tried to blame the legacy integrations. But the proof was too overwhelming. The federal investigation was triggered on the spot. Within hours, she was being escorted out of our office in handcuffs, her carefully constructed empire crumbling around her, her ambition in ruins. Her slick suits and cutting charm couldn't save her from the cold, hard data. The aftermath was a whirlwind. My name was cleared, of course. My family, initially shell-shocked, then overflowing with gratitude and apology, rallied around me. It was hard, painful work to untangle the mess she'd made, to rebuild trust with our suppliers and customers. But we did it. I redesigned our inventory system from the ground up, incorporating the best of my old, reliable methods with modern, secure technologies. This time, with triple redundant audit trails and encryption that made Serena's system look like a child's toy. The company, battered but not broken, rose from the ashes stronger, more resilient, and with an unshakable focus on integrity and transparency. We even saw growth we'd only dreamed of, not through cut corners or shady deals, but through genuine efficiency and ethical practices. My life now? It's different. The quiet hum of the city, the stripes of light on my duvet, they're not just peaceful, they're a testament to what I survived. I still live in the same apartment, still drive my old Civic. My salary is better now, commensurate with the true value I bring, and I'm a partner in the business, not just an employee. But the greatest change isn't in my bank account or my title. It's inside me. I learned the hardest way imaginable that true value isn't in what you own, or who you know, or how modern you appear. It's in your character, your integrity, your unwavering belief in what's right. I carry the scars, the memory of that suffocating doubt and betrayal, but they've made me sharper, wiser. And yes, there's someone new. Her name is Emily. She's an engineer, smart and funny, with a laugh that makes my chest feel light. She doesn't care about my car, or my apartment, or my status. She cares that I know the difference between right and wrong. She values the meticulousness of my mind, the quiet passion I have for my work. She sees me, not a project to be optimized or an accessory to her ambition. With her, there's no gaslighting, no hidden agendas, just honest connection. Sometimes, late at night, a flash of Serena's perfect smile crosses my mind, a ghost of the nightmare. But it's quickly replaced by Emily's genuine warmth, by the quiet strength of my family, by the solid reality of the business I helped save. The barcodes still whisper to me, but now, they only tell the truth. And that, after everything, is the most beautiful sound in the world.